The galaxy believed humanity was finished. They saw a dying planet, a broken species, and a world circling its last sunset. But they forgot one simple truth: humans do not surrender. And when Earth finally answered their call, the stars themselves would tremble. 50 years ago, Earth had been saved. Not by its own power. Not by its own fleets. But by a small alien civilization called the Illyrians. The Illyrians were not strong. They were not rich. They were not feared. But they had something rare in the galaxy: compassion. When Earth's sun released a catastrophic storm and a cluster of extinction-level asteroids followed behind it, the Galactic Confederation voted to let humanity die. Too primitive. Too divided. Not profitable. Those were the words spoken in the council chambers. But the Illyrians ignored the vote. They came anyway. They burned their fuel reserves. They spent their emergency funds. They risked political exile. And together, humans and Illyrians, they shattered the asteroids and stabilized Earth's failing systems. Earth survived. And humans never forgot. 50 years later, Earth was no longer weak. The disaster had changed everything. Humanity had united in ways no one thought possible. Rival nations became partners. Military secrets became shared knowledge. Scientists from every continent worked together without borders. The trauma forced evolution. Fusion energy became stable within 2 decades. Orbital shipyards were built above the equator. A global planetary defense grid surrounded Earth like invisible armor. Human ships were still simple compared to alien warfleets, but they were fast, modular, creative. Human engineers had one philosophy: if it shouldn't work, try it anyway. It shocked even their alien observers. By year 30 after the rescue, Earth had built its first faster-than-light engine, not by copying alien designs, but by modifying gravitational distortion theory into something reckless and brilliant. Other species called it unstable. Humans called it Tuesday. And then the signal came. It arrived on every frequency. Encrypted. Distorted. Desperate. It was Illyrian. Dr. Arya Sen, head of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Array, was the first to decode it. Her hands trembled as the message cleared. This is High Speaker Thalen of the Illyrian Union. We are under attack. Behind him, the sky was burning. Massive biomechanical warships darkened their atmosphere. Cities glowed with fire. Orbital stations drifted in pieces. The Varkoon Dominion has declared us inefficient. They have voted for our extinction. Static cut through screaming. We have no allies. The Confederation has denied intervention. Arya felt her breath stop. History was repeating. But this time, Earth was not the dying world. This time, Earth was the one listening. Within hours, Earth's Global Council assembled. President Malik Okoye stood at the center of the chamber. Around him were military leaders, scientists, economists, and civilian representatives. No shouting. No arguing. Just one heavy truth. The Illyrians had saved humanity when no one else would. Now they were alone. Admiral Sofia Alvarez projected tactical images into the room. The Varkoon Dominion ships were monstrous, kilometers long, covered in armor plating that regenerated like living tissue. They are a conquest species, Sofia said calmly. They absorb weaker civilizations for resources. The Confederation avoids direct conflict with them. And the Illyrians? Malik asked. Outgunned. Outnumbered. They will fall within months. Silence filled the chamber. An economic advisor cleared his throat. If we intervene, we risk open war with a dominant galactic power. A scientist spoke next. We are not ready for that scale of conflict. Dr. Arya Sen finally stood. They came for us. That was all she said. No speech. No dramatic appeal. Just truth. The room understood. President Okoye nodded slowly. Prepare the fleet. Across Earth's orbit, shipyards roared to life. Human vessels detached from docking arms. The flagship Horizon's Edge powered its experimental FTL core. Its design was unlike anything in alien databases, sleek, layered with adaptive armor panels, and equipped with modular weapon bays. Instead of relying on single superweapons, human ships carried dozens of smaller systems designed to improvise. Drones, EMP bursts, gravitational disruptors, kinetic rail cannons. They were not stronger. They were unpredictable. Admiral Sofia Alvarez addressed the fleet. "We are not the biggest force in this galaxy." Her voice echoed across every bridge. "But we are the most stubborn." Laughter spread through nervous crews. "We are not going to conquer." Her tone hardened. "We are going to protect." Thousands of human ships jumped to faster-than-light travel in synchronized flashes of blue light. Earth was going to war. The Illyrian homeworld was chaos. Varkoon warforms descended through clouds like metal predators. Illyrian defense fleets were collapsing. High Speaker Thalen watched from the capital tower as another orbital ring shattered. "We miscalculated," his advisor whispered. "No," Thalen replied softly. "We hoped." Then sensors detected something impossible. Hundreds, no, thousands of unknown FTL signatures entering system space. Varkoon commanders hesitated. The new ships were smaller, strangely shaped, emitting unstable energy readings. Human ships. Admiral Sofia's fleet emerged in tight formation. "This is Admiral Alvarez of the United Earth Defense Coalition," she transmitted openly. "You helped us once. Now we return the favor." The Varkoon responded immediately. "You are not recognized as a major power. Withdraw or be harvested." Sofia smiled faintly. "Yeah, that's not happening." The battle began. And the galaxy would soon learn something dangerous. Humans do not fight fair. They fight smart. Human ships didn't charge directly. Instead, they scattered. Drones deployed in swarms, confusing Varkoon targeting systems. Gravitational mines distorted local spacetime, forcing enemy vessels out of formation. Small human corvettes targeted weak points in armor joints instead of center mass. Rail cannon slugs fired not at ships, but at debris fields, creating shrapnel storms that shredded exposed Varkoon bioships. The Varkoon adapted quickly. But humans adapted faster. Onboard AI systems rewrote combat algorithms mid-battle. Engineers physically rerouted weapon outputs while under fire. When a Varkoon dreadnought attempted to lock onto the Horizon's Edge, human pilots did something insane. They shut down their own main reactor. Their ship went dark, invisible to energy tracking, drifting silently through wreckage until they were directly beneath the dreadnought's core. Then they reignited power at maximum output and fired everything they had at point-blank range. The dreadnought split in half. Illyrian citizens watching from below began to understand. Humanity had not just survived. Humanity had evolved. And they had come back stronger. But as more Varkoon reinforcements warped into the system, Admiral Sofia realized something. This battle was only the beginning. And Earth had just announced itself to the entire galaxy. The first Varkoon dreadnought burned like a falling star. Its broken hull lit the skies of the Illyrian homeworld, and for the first time in weeks, the defenders felt something unfamiliar. Hope. But hope in war is dangerous. Because the enemy was still coming. Admiral Sofia Alvarez stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Edge, watching tactical projections flicker across the air. "Enemy reinforcements increasing," her operations officer said. 3 new capital-class signatures. Estimated arrival, 90 seconds. 90 seconds. In space warfare, that was nothing. The Varkoon Dominion did not panic. They did not rage. They did not retreat. They adapted. Their new ships entered the battlefield in tight triangular formation. Unlike the earlier vessels, these were heavier, layered with shifting armor plates that sealed weak points almost instantly. "They learned," Sofia muttered. "Yes," replied Commander Ishon Rao, her tactical advisor. "But so did we." Human ships were smaller and lighter. They could not outgun the Varkoon in a direct exchange. But humans had never planned to fight directly. Phase 2, Sophia ordered calmly. Across the battlefield, human ships suddenly broke formation and retreated. To the Varkoon commanders, it looked like fear. They advanced aggressively. That was the mistake. Hidden within the debris field of destroyed Varkoon ships were hundreds of dormant human devices. They had been deployed quietly during the first phase of battle. Micro-singularity traps. When the Varkoon fleet entered the zone, the devices activated. Tiny gravitational distortions ripped through space, twisting navigation systems and pulling ships slightly off course. Not enough to destroy them. Just enough to break their perfect formation. And that was all humans needed. Illyrian defense cannons, previously overwhelmed, suddenly had clear shots. Human railguns targeted exposed propulsion nodes. Drone swarms slipped into the cracks of fractured armor. The battlefield turned chaotic. Varkoon ships, built for dominance and intimidation, struggled in disorder. Human pilots thrived in it. On the surface below, High Speaker Thalen watched the sky change from red to silver-blue flashes of human weapon fire. "They fight like water," he whispered. "Unpredictable. Flowing around obstacles. Striking from impossible angles." An Illyrian general approached him. "Our outer defense ring is stabilizing. Human forces have created a perimeter." Thalen closed his eyes briefly. "They came," he said softly. "They truly came." But in deep orbit, something far more dangerous was unfolding. The Varkoon Dominion was not a species ruled by emotion. It was ruled by calculation. And they had calculated something new. Unknown species designation, human, transmitted the Varkoon fleet mind across its network. Threat assessment updated. Potential future destabilizing force. That was worse than being an enemy. It meant humanity had been noticed. Far beyond the battlefield, a massive Varkoon command ship began charging a long-range weapon. It was not aimed at the Illyrian world. It was aimed at something else. Earth. Back on the horizon's edge, human long-range sensors caught the energy spike. "Admiral," Ishon said sharply, "we're detecting a directed tachyon buildup. Vector calculation suggests." He stopped. Sophia didn't need the rest. "They're sending a message," she said quietly. The weapon fired. A focused burst of compressed data and energy tore through subspace. It was not an attack. It was a warning. A declaration. The Varkoon Dominion now knew where Earth was. And they would not forget. For a moment, the human bridge crew fell silent. They had come to save their friends. They had not expected to paint a target on their own planet. Sophia took a slow breath. Open channel to Earth Command. President Malik Okoye appeared on screen within seconds. "We saw it," he said calmly. "They know." "Yes," Sophia replied. "This is no longer a rescue mission. It's a beginning." Malik nodded once. "Then let's make sure it's a beginning they regret." Human reinforcements arrived 3 hours later. Not warships. Freighters. Cargo vessels. Converted civilian ships. The Varkoon commanders were confused. Until the freighters opened their hulls. Out poured thousands of autonomous construction drones. Within hours, humans began building. Defensive platforms. Shield amplifiers. Mobile repair stations. Right in the middle of the war zone. The Illyrians watched in disbelief. "You are fortifying our orbit?" one asked. Sophia smiled faintly. "We're renting space." Humans did not just fight battles. They built positions. The longer the Varkoon stayed, the harder it would become to remove humanity's presence. The battle raged for days. Human losses mounted. Ships were destroyed. Brave crews made sacrifices. But every loss fueled something stronger. Coordination improved. Strategies evolved. Human engineers aboard damaged vessels created new countermeasures overnight. AI systems rewrote themselves to anticipate Varkoon attack patterns. For every move the Dominion made, humanity responded with something unexpected. By the 5th day, the Varkoon fleet mind reached a conclusion. Continuing the assault would result in unacceptable resource drain. The Illyrians were no longer easy prey. They were defended. Strategic withdrawal, the fleet mind ordered. Varkoon ships began pulling back, vanishing into faster-than-light corridors. The sky grew quiet. For the first time in weeks, no explosions echoed above the Illyrian world. Cheers erupted across human and Illyrian channels alike. But Admiral Sophia did not celebrate. She stared at the tactical map. They retreated too cleanly, she said. Ishon nodded. They will return. With more. Yes, Sophia agreed. And next time, it won't be just Illyria. On Earth, news of the battle spread instantly. For the first time in history, humanity had faced a dominant galactic power, and survived. More than survived. They had forced a retreat. Young students watched battle footage in classrooms. Engineers studied combat data with shining eyes. Artists painted images of human ships standing beside Illyrian towers. Humanity felt something rising in its chest. Not pride. Purpose. They had stepped onto the galactic stage. And they were not leaving. In the dark reaches of Varkoon space, the fleet mind began preparing a larger mobilization. Entire armadas shifted position. Industrial worlds accelerated ship production. Humanity was no longer categorized as primitive. They were now classified as a rising strategic threat. And the Dominion had one rule about threats. Eliminate them early. Back above Illyria, High Speaker Thalen met Admiral Sophia in person for the first time. The Illyrian leader bowed deeply. You risked everything for us, he said. Sophia shook her head. You risked everything for us first. Thalen looked at the human ships orbiting his world. What happens now? Sophia looked toward the stars. Now, she said quietly, we prepare. Because Earth had answered the call. And the galaxy had heard it. But the real storm was still coming. The Varkoon Dominion believed in one rule above all others. Strike once. Strike hard. Strike so completely that no one dares rise again. They had retreated from Illyria. But they had not lost. They were calculating. And this time, they were coming for Earth. 3 months after the Battle of Illyria, human deep space sensors detected something massive forming beyond mapped space. It wasn't a fleet. It was an armada. Hundreds of Varkoon warships. Super carriers. Biomechanical dreadnoughts. Planet cracker platforms. They were not hiding their movement. This was intimidation. This was extermination. When the data reached Earth, President Malik Okoye did not look surprised. He looked ready. They're doing exactly what we expected, he said calmly. Around him, the Global Defense Council stood united. No flags behind them. No borders on the map. Just Earth. Admiral Sophia Alvarez appeared via live transmission from the Illyrian front. They will reach Sol in 11 days, she confirmed. We can attempt interception halfway. Malik shook his head. No. The room turned toward him. We fight them at home. Across Earth, something incredible happened. There was no panic. No riots. No collapse. Instead, factories accelerated. Research labs opened sealed prototypes. Civilian volunteers signed up for planetary defense support. Children sent recorded messages to the fleet. We believe in you. Humanity had changed. They were no longer the divided species the Confederation once dismissed. They were united by memory. They remembered the day aliens had saved them. They remembered the fear. They remembered the promise. And humans always kept promises. The solar defense grid activated for the first time in full capacity. Orbital platforms rotated into position. Asteroid mining stations converted into weapons arrays. Thousands of small defense satellites aligned in complex geometric formations. But the true weapon was something the galaxy had never seen before. Project Echo. Developed in secret over 20 years, Project Echo was based on one dangerous idea. If you cannot outgun a stronger enemy, outthink physics. Human scientists had discovered a way to create controlled microfolds in spacetime using synchronized gravitational pulses. Individually, the pulses were harmless. Together, they could bend incoming energy, redirect it, even amplify it. It was unstable. It was risky. It was completely insane. It was perfect. The Varkoon Armada entered the Sol system without hesitation. They expected resistance. They expected desperation. They did not expect discipline. Human fleets waited near Mars orbit. Not charging. Not retreating. Waiting. The Varkoon fleet mind analyzed quickly. Engage planetary bombardment. Energy built along the hulls of massive Varkoon dreadnoughts. Beams capable of shattering continents fired toward Earth. Project Echo activated. Across orbit, thousands of satellites pulsed in precise synchronization. Space rippled. The incoming beams bent. Not away. Back. The redirected energy slammed into the forward Varkoon line. 3 capital ships were torn apart by their own firepower. For the first time in recorded Dominion history, the fleet mind hesitated. On the bridge of the horizon's edge, Admiral Sophia allowed herself one small smile. "Welcome to Earth," she whispered. Human ships surged forward, but not in a straight line. They moved in shifting spirals, confusing predictive targeting. Illyrian reinforcements arrived from FTL at the edge of the system, joining the defense. For once, they were not alone. The Varkoon adapted quickly, splitting their formation to avoid beam reflection. They deployed fighter swarms and boarding organisms. Human response was immediate. Civilian-built drone carriers released clouds of autonomous defense units. Mining lasers repurposed as close-range cutters sliced through incoming threats. Engineers aboard damaged ships used 3D printers to replace critical components mid-battle. Humans did not fight clean. They fought creatively. In orbit above Jupiter, a Varkoon supercarrier began charging a planet-cracker weapon. Its target was Earth's moon. Destroying Luna would destabilize Earth's tides and ecosystems. It was psychological warfare. Sophia saw the energy spike. "Range," she demanded. Too far for conventional strike. There was only one option. She opened a private channel. "Captain Elias Ward, do you copy?" A young voice answered from a stealth corvette near Saturn's rings. "Copy, Admiral." "You understand the mission?" A pause. "Yes, Elias's ship carried a prototype Singularity core. Unstable. Untested in combat. If it detonated too early, it would erase his ship. If it detonated too late, the moon would shatter. His small corvette accelerated beyond safe limits. Warning alarms screamed. Crew members strapped in silently. They had volunteered. As he approached the supercarrier, Varkoon defense fire ripped through his shields. Hull integrity dropped. 30%. 20. 10. "Now," Elias whispered. The Singularity core activated. For a brief second, a small artificial black hole flickered into existence between the corvette and the supercarrier. It collapsed instantly, but the gravitational shockwave tore the Varkoon vessel apart from the inside. The moon was saved. Elias's ship did not survive. Across Earth, billions watched the battle in real time. They saw ships fall. They saw friends sacrifice. They saw Earth stand. And they did not look away. Because humanity understood something the galaxy did not. Strength was not about size. It was about will. After 12 hours of relentless combat, the Varkoon Armada was breaking. Project Echo continued bending their heaviest weapons. Human fleets harassed supply lines. Illyrian ships struck from blind spots. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion faced something unfamiliar. An enemy that would not surrender. An enemy that learned faster than they did. The fleet mind calculated probability of victory. It dropped below acceptable threshold. Strategic retreat, it signaled. Again. The Armada withdrew from Sol. But this time, it was not clean. It was damaged. Humbled. Silence returned to space. Earth still stood. The moon still shone. Human ships, scarred and burning, drifted proudly in orbit. Admiral Sophia addressed every channel across the system. "We did not start this war." Her voice carried calm strength. "But we will finish it." Days later, an emergency session of the Galactic Confederation was called. 47 races gathered once more. They had ignored Earth once. They had mocked the Illyrians. Now they stared at battle recordings in stunned silence. Humans had not just defended themselves. They had forced the Varkoon Dominion to retreat twice. Councillor Vex, older now, spoke carefully. "It appears, humanity is no longer primitive." High Speaker Thalen stood beside Earth's ambassador. "They never were," he said softly. "Back on Earth, children played under peaceful skies. Engineers already improved Project Echo. Shipyards expanded. Alliances formed. Humanity did not seek conquest. But they would never again be helpless. They had saved their dying world. They had answered a call for help. And when the galaxy threatened them, Earth roared back. The stars would remember that sound.